No data really, but so far, maybe? Maybe. Okay, let's hope. Let's assume that's gonna go. Alright. It looks like I'm saying I'm gonna taxidermy Rumi. I absolutely promise I'm not gonna taxidermy Rumi. Alright. I am gonna take a second and braid my hair, and then we'll get all the rest of this rolling. So for anybody who is over here, okay, so for anybody who's curious, because someone decided to report my channel for gore last time I did my regular stuff on here, um, I'm going to practice not doing the actual direct taxidermy on my camera. So the camera that is on Rumi right now is what I would usually have. But since apparently someone decided to take umbrage with that, I will be streaming over on Instagram. And so I think there's an exclamation point Instagram if someone wants to type that out. Otherwise, it's on my About page. And so you can find me on Instagram Live now. Um, Devil's hand. I knew that joke was going to come up. Obviously, he's a very bad cat. Obviously. And I mean, look at these mats. We gotta do something about that. But I am not taxiderming Rumi. He decided that after a whole day of ignoring me, oh, thank you for the booties, by the way. After an entire day of just completely ignoring me, Rumi decided that now, when I have a dead mouse on the table and I'm going to start streaming, now is when he absolutely needs attention. Like, he's even had his dinner. He's just like, I've just suddenly decided I care about you. Pet me. He's just purring. He's so happy. Oh, thank you. Okay, so for anybody who is interested in seeing the actual full taxidermy while I'm working today, head over to my Instagram Live. It should be up and running now. Um, I will not be projecting the insides of the mouse on here because, again, somebody decided to report me, and I don't need that in my day. So that's where we're at. So what you'll be seeing on this channel is I'm going to potentially just leave it on Rumi, because why not? Or I might actually move, like, this camera to look at my face. I'm not really sure. But we're going to play with layout a little bit. Um, but for the moment, yeah, you can see pretty well. There's no booty emotes there. Oh man, that's rough, man. Devil's hand, that's rough. Aren't there like ashy booties you can draw that involve parentheses? You know, back in the day when we did ashy commands. Yeah, you can see Rumi. Boobs and booties in ashy are pretty similar, if I recall. Okay, this is important. Let me see if I can remember how to do a butt. Welcome to my channel. We're really classy here, everybody. It's it's fine. Let's see. There. I believe that's the classic butt ashy. Okay, yeah, so Devil's Hand, I see your boobs on my Instagram. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. But I give to you ashy booty, which is a strange sentence. But better not get too sexy or might get reported. I know, right? Not here. This, I mean, everybody just wants to report me. That's where we're at. So no, we are not taxidermying Rumi. Looking down at their open zipper. I'm doing my best, man. I'm doing my best. It's an ashy. Come on. Okay. So over here, we can see the mouse. Over here, we can't. So what do you guys think? Do you like seeing Rumi? Let's see if I can get his face on a little bit. He just looks mad. Rumi, boomy. Yeah, so because we can do this view, I can do this view. So over here, it's just uh no boob. All right. Uh yeah, no, he will suck your soul out with his eyeballs. And then actually, I guess I could put up the mostly not gross. That might make more sense for this feed. So on here we'll say mostly not gross because I can still show you guys some of the stuff I'm doing. We'll try to find the balance, and then over here on Instagram, I'm just going to be doing the work. Um, oh, Rumi, and Rumi's just going to be in the way because that's most of his job, being in the way and growing hair, right, buddy? And he's very happy right now. That expression is happiness. Definitely happiness. Trust me. Okay. Well, then I'm gonna get started over here, and we'll just see how this works out. You and Rumi are so alike. So you can just say that you have resting Rumi face. I think that's pretty okay. We would all be so lucky to have resting Rumi face. Oh, screen filters with different hats. Or like little sparkles. I do have snap camera. I suppose I could set up the snap camera so it would look like Rumi has like eyeshadow on and whatever. Stars flying out of his head. Wow. There's a manufacturing defect in this glove. It came with a hole pre in it. That's a ginormous bummer. Well, make an Insta model. There was a time where I considered trying to go for internet cat fame. Because Rumi's so cool, right? Like, I was like, maybe we can do the internet cat thing. And I decided I wanted to do pretty much anything else with my day. So, Rumi's just a cat who likes looking at the internet. Yeah, my finger's weird when it's still got a glove on it. Boop. Yeah, he's just demanding attention right now. Oh, you're so happy. Honestly, his reaction to taxidermy is usually abject boredom. So you guys will actually get to watch that. This is Rumi not reacting to taxidermy. So with that in mind, get my stuff out. Uh, and for anybody on Instagram, I will be doing my best to pay attention to Instagram as well. It's a little harder for me to read, so do what I can. Where did I put my plates? They are in here. I need to order a lot of stuff. I need to get more scalpel handles and scalpel blades. I gotta get on that. Oh, you can see right in Rumi's head. That's weird. Yeah, I've got two left. That's not good. Gotta place an order. Rumi, you're such a weirdo. All right, so wow, resub for 8 months. Wow, thank you. That's pretty great not here. I appreciate it. So my biggest thing is now I do have my scalpel out, so I have to make sure that Rumi doesn't go and sniff that. I'm actually less worried about him interacting with pretty much anything else. But no, I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Yeah, as soon as I say don't get near the scalpel, you want to get near the scalpel. Yes, thank you. Settle down. No one needs that crap. Oh, and this is not the work surface I wanted. Let me get my glass. I'll just do this on the glass surface. Uh, yeah, Snufkin. This is not supposed to be a cat-related stream, but he insisted that it's now a cat-related stream, so this is where we're at. Okay, actually, move that back. Okay. You're gonna post the Insta every now and again. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah. So for anybody tuning in, I am doing a taxidermy stream. Here is a dead mouse. However, because someone decided to report me last time I did a taxidermy stream for gore, which is awesome, I am now streaming the full work. Thanks for me. I'm streaming most of what I'm doing over on Instagram. So if anybody wants to find me on Instagram, you can find the live feed over there. Because somebody decided that this is worse than a cooking show or watching fish get gutted on a fishing stream. Because, sure. Rumi, do you actually mind? And so now that I have the extra camera, Rumi gets to just take center stage because he's taken over my desk. This cat has ignored me all day, and now that I'm trying to do taxidermy, now he is absolutely in my face. And literally getting hair on my work surface. Okay, so he just inched forward about 2 inches just to be closer to where I'm working. You're the worst. Can you guys hear him? He's so happy. Like, this is this is not what I wanted to be doing right now. I have other plans for the night. Yeah, tech relic, like ignoring Rumi is not an option. He ignored me all day. Like all day. Like I hardly saw him and I was like, "Hey buddy, you want me to pet you?" And he's like, "No, of course not. I'm going to go nap over here." And he's already had his dinner, and then he's just like, "Hey, you're getting on your computer. Great, pet me." And now you see inside of his head. It's apparently purr time. So, yeah, this is now a kitty cat stream. Fine. My gloves are clean. I haven't started doing anything yet, so Rumi gets bright blue pettins. I guess there's worse things to hold up a stream. And I did seem to fix my latency issues, so that's nice anyway. So what do you think? Should I keep the soundtrack as just Rumi purring, or should I actually put on music? Oh, do you see yourself? You looking at yourself there now? Spoiled cat. The purr track is fine. All right. And I'd say we'll keep it on the purr track until somebody decides to spend the channel points to change the music. But for now, it's room time. And then, if there's anybody on who hasn't heard Rumi's origin story, just because we're having a Rumi moment, so why not? Rumi was dumped at a pet store in Chicago, kind of near where I live. And someone basically just walked in the pet store holding very young Rumi and said, "If you people don't take this cat, I'm going to leave him in your alleyway." So the people at the pet store were like, "Give us the cat." And at the time, I was working for a low-cost spay-neuter clinic. And so the clinic the clinic got a call that said, "Hey, this cat was just dumped. He needs to be neutered and get all his shots. Can we bring him in?" So, oh yeah, so that day he basically got dumped kind of midday. We got him in, got him fixed, got him all his shots, and he's like 8 months old maybe when he got dropped off. And he woke up from his surgery, and he was going to stay the night at the clinic, which we usually don't do, but it was a favor for the rescue group. And he's in his cage, and he's all googly-eyed because he is coming out of anesthesia. and I'm setting up his cage for the night, so I'm giving him a little blanket and, you know, a litter box and things like that. And he kind of like comes over and he's like, hey, you know, hey, Mirp, kind of thing. I'm like, oh, hi, buddy. And so I reach over to go pet him, and he bites me. He just takes me down right into the wrist, just wins. And so I end up going to urgent care to get all the antibiotics and stuff for the deep cat bite. And this little monster went on a 10-day rabies quarantine because, of course, we didn't know what his vaccine history was, and so by law, he had to be on a 10-day quarantine to make sure he didn't turn out to be rabid. So I had to take care of the little monster for 10 days after he bit me. And clearly I'm not terribly smart because then I decided I really liked him and ended up adopting him. So yeah, Rumi is actually a little Chicago orphan, um, who is opinionated and bitey, and now he's like an old man who is just incredibly spoiled and takes over my stream. So there you go. There's our Rumi related interlude. Does Rumi have channel points to keep sound on him? Ooh, we could do that. I mean, I guess that would count as a kitty visit. So, Chardon Mom, let's say that the kitty visit counts if the kitty is already present to turn off the music and keep it on the purr track. So, I think that that works nicely. All right. So, I'm going to go back to trying to do taxidermy, and hopefully he's just going to continue to chill out there and have a bath and be roomy. Okay. And today I am taxiderming a dead mouse. I think it's a female, and I think it's a house mouse because her tail is so long. Her tail is the length of her whole body, which I think is a house mouse thing. Oh, fudge, are you slipping? Nuts. Okay. Um, I don't think I'm gonna successfully be able to skin this one. It looks like there's some early decomposition. Yeah, nuts. Okay, so uh, you can see like clumps of hair have come off. Bye, Rumi. Uh, and so this is slippage. You can see on my gross stuff camera that there's like a bald spot on the hips. Actually, here this I think I can show on Twitch. If someone counts it as gore, I will fight them. That's not. Um, but you can see this shiny area. That's slippage. Slippage is when the top layer of skin starts to come off, and so I can just pull the skin apart right here. But not on the other side. The other side is intact. And so that's probably because this side was like in sunlight or something like that. So this warmed up faster than this other side did when it was out. Well, I don't know. Is it how bad is this lip? Well, medium bad. She's gonna have a bald spot no matter what. Hmm. Yeah, because that's a sizable bald spot. Oh, but you're really cute. Got cute little mouse. Um, Tell you what, I will go ahead and still skin it. I just probably won't bother trying to mount it because the skin is um, already losing so much hair. But it's still good practice. So I'll still get the practice in, and I'll get the skull, which is good. I'll use that for stuff. So, and then what do you think I should have on this camera view? Should I have anything over here? Like I can keep occasionally showing what I'm doing. Um, I can't, if Rumi's not here, um, I can turn it off so it's just my face cam. Any opinions or thoughts on that? As I try to do this multi-angle thing. Man, mice have a really specific smell. Which, if anybody's had mice in their houses, you know what that smell is. It smells like mice. Oh yeah. Oh no, all this fur is coming apart. Okay, no, I can't work with this. Ah, it's such a bummer. Okay, then what I'm gonna do instead, uh, I'm going to cut her adorable head off, which is too bad, but there it is. And I have these two rat heads, and I'll just get all the muscle off of those and clean them up. So that's what I'm working on today. I wasn't planning on streaming super late anyway, so I guess if I'm gonna have this not work out today, this is it's an okay day for it. I wonder if I can get like a tiny little pelt. Can I get your back fur off, small friend? Yeah, like I can't cut through her skin because the hair keeps getting off and falling in the way. This is a not fresh. I mean, that's the problem with mice you find. You don't necessarily know how long they were out there, but you know, I'm not going to turn down a really cute little mouse. Oh. Yeah, so for anybody who's just popping in, I am skinning a mouse, and I was hoping to do a cute little mounted mouse. I thought it was in good condition, but it turns out that this mouse is slipping. Slippage is early stage decomposition, so basically the top layer of skin is coming off and her hair is falling out. So I will not be able to get a decent skin off of this. Now I'm going to see if I can just get any off of it, because it'd be kind of cool to have like a tiny, like the fur back here seems really nice, and I'm almost wondering if I can get a little bit of a pelt, but honestly, the skin seems to be just in absolute trash. And so you can't tell, like this is such a bummer, because I thought, obviously I wouldn't have bothered thawing the specimen if I didn't think it was going to be a good one, but you can't tell. Tiny little mouse rug. Yeah, actually, because since I'm practicing tanning and things like that, I'm making a tiny little mouse rug is actually legit. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna cut. Where's my scissors? I'm gonna cut her head and legs off, and go from there. Okay. So again, if you're on Instagram, I am literally gonna use these scissors to cut this mouse's head and legs off. Like it's everything I just described is what I'm gonna do. So it's gonna look pretty gross, but I think that's the way I'm going to get the best stuff off of this. I might as well go fast. I actually have cut up a fair number of mice into component parts to feed reptiles. That's just like a thing you do. Um, it was a particularly wonderful little mud turtle, Mississippi mud turtle named Stinky that I used to take care of. And Stinky had a jaw injury, and so he couldn't open his mouth all the way. So it's a turtle, so his beak kind of overlapped, and so normally they can then, open it the rest of the way. But he couldn't open his jaw all the way, so the tips of the two mandibles always stayed kind of touching. So he had this opening on the side, but he couldn't open the front all the way. So we had to feed him with tweezers, and I would cut up mice for him and kind of like jam them into his cute little mouth, which he didn't really love, but he loved eating the mice, so he made it work. He was a good dude. And he handled it with grace. Like there were some people who had a real dickens of a time actually feeding him. I was pretty good at it. A bunch of other people were pretty good at it. Um, oh, maybe this is male. Am I looking at that wrong? Sexing some rodents is so easy, and sexing other ones is not. Yeah, actually, I think this is male, not female. Sexing chipmunks is remarkably difficult, but like a squirrel, you can't not know. Rats, you can't not know. Like you might wish you didn't know, but you know. Yeah, it's always interesting when people would ask about how to take care of turtles because a lot of folks would come to the nature museum and be like, "Yeah, I want to have a turtle for my classroom," and we're like, "Oh my God, don't have a turtle for your classroom. You work hard enough." Um, and then as soon as you explain to people that you really should be feeding a decent sized turtle mice on top of whatever turtle kibbles they sell you at PetSmart, people really stop being as interested. Because if you get a classroom snake, you feed them only mice. If you get a classroom turtle, you feed them mice, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, cuddle bone, and various other supplements, as well as their UV lamp. Like it's kind of nuts. So it's like, no, 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 don't get a classroom turtle. It'll just be sad. Get a classroom corn snake. So Jiggly, I missed what that reaction was for. Are you still watching on Instagram? Or no, Jiggly, I don't know if you were on Instagram. I'm sorry, that was Devil's Hand was on Instagram. Well, the nice thing about cutting off all the limbs and stuff is this is really fast, so I'm gonna get my strange little pelt done really, really quickly. You know, something I meant to look for while I was out was a ton of salt. I was gonna see if I can get a big bag of kitchen salt, because I've got to start salting my hides. But, for sexing rodents, I gotcha. See, I don't really need that. No skin there. So we're gonna just nip that off. And down here. Okay, so here's my little pelt. A lot of it's really nice. Like, that's actually pretty plush. Um, so I'm going to trim off the obvious bad parts. And then, yeah, we're going to go with tiny little mouse rug. Yeah, so that's not really what I thought was going to happen, but meh, it's alright. Okay, and here's the difference too. Since I'm not showing the full body on Twitch, dissection and kind of showing you guys what's knocking around in there isn't going to be really a thing. That sucks. Okay. I've almost got all of the fat blobs and stuff off because it's a mouse and it's easy. I should ask Library Rat if, oh, I accidentally peeled the ears off. Oops. Hashtag things said on my stream. Yeah, I didn't want that. Alright, well, yeah, she is in fact making furniture and tiny little things for a dollhouse, so having a little mouse rug would actually work. Alright, well, trim this little corner off. Alright, so that didn't go as planned. I'm just checking if there's anything else interesting going on in this mouse. Not really. Okay. So now I've got just the head, and so I'm going to skin the head, which will be real easy since I'm not keeping this. And so for anybody over here, Uh, let's see if I can get it to. So here's my adorable mouse face, and all I want is the skull, and so I can just pretty swiftly here put you in there. Get the skin off of here since I don't have to worry about keeping it nice. And yeah, that's all I'm going to do today is I'll just clean skulls. We'll just move on. And I think what I can do, hey, Kags, how's it going? Yeah. But you'll notice that I'm not doing my main work on the Twitch camera. I have it over here on Instagram. Because I'm currently cleaning this mouse's head. But I don't want some jerkball to say that my channel's too gory. So if you want to see the full work, it's over on Instagram. Yeah, I was going to do a full skin of this mouse, but it turns out he's a little too far gone, so we're just getting the skull out. Skull and a pelt, basically. Also, doing the second restart on OBS definitely seemed to fix my latency problem. So I hope everybody else has also got a better clear stream on your end. I'm actually really glad to get this mouse out of there, especially if it's not a nice specimen. Rather not have it taking up space in my freezer. Stream is fine. Good, 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 good. See, I bet my main latency issue is the fact that my computer was on the Wi-Fi because it wasn't used to being home again. Although I wasn't able to stream from my live event, so I took the laptop because they had asked if I wanted power to my table, and I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be great. And I had my tripod and everything. So I was actually planning on streaming from the live event I was at on Friday. But then it turned out that we couldn't actually get power to my table without it being a huge tripping hazard because there was actually like a walkway between me and the power. So I ended up not being able to do the live stream. So hopefully in the future I can include all y'all when I'm at one of those events. But it didn't happen this time. Okay. Okay, so here's my thing. So this is now the skinned head. Yeah, I think it'd be cool. So the question is, do you think people are gonna flip out if I'm doing the skull cleaning on Twitch, or if I just need to keep this over here on Instagram? Because I have 3 skulls. I have the cute little mouse and then 2 rats. Aren't you going to do the class with mice? Yes. So the class is going to be actually with rats. They're a little bigger. That I wouldn't stream because people obviously are paying for the privilege of taking my class. But for like table events where I'm just out chatting with people, it's effectively what I'm doing here, so I might as well just include everybody. So this. That's not the best smell, but it's not the worst. Things said in my shop. Okay. So, it looks like there's nobody on Instagram. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Like, I don't think my stuff is gory anyway, and I did try to appeal it, so I don't know why I got reported. But I'm going to show you guys a handful of heads, and you tell me if I should be moving this over onto Twitch or should probably keep it over on the other side. Ready? Everybody ready? Here's a handful of rodent heads. There they are. So my plan is to clean these up and clean the bones. So I almost feel like I should. Here, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm gonna set up a poll. We're gonna do this total Twitch style. I'm gonna set up a poll. Y'all tell me if you think I can actually do this on stream or if somebody will freak out. So say clean skulls on stream? Question mark. Nah. Too gory. Sure. Fine. All right. Okay. I need votes. What do you guys think? Should I go ahead and do rodent heads and assume that people aren't going to freak out because it's not the entire thing and you can't really see the details? Or should I continue to be on Instagram just to be safe? Because my thought is that people get most freaked out by whole bodies, whole identifiable bodies, and faces. And so, of course, the heads are faces, but they stop looking like faces real fast. Like, they already don't have the skin on them, so it's not so bad. So that's really the question, is it gory? I don't think so, but obviously I don't think so. So, so yeah, I want opinions. Obviously none of y'all are liable if I get suspended again. My super PAC hasn't caught wind of your poll yet. The lobbyists for mice are going to show up. I swear. Like, you know what? I did do one thing on stream once, which in hindsight I think was too much. I had a sheep head, and I was like pulling the tongue and the eyes out of the sheep head, and I think that actually got a little grim. Because it's a face, and you can really see the face, and so it's pulling apart a face. But the rest of it's just cooking? I don't know. I don't know. So, but hey, this gives me a hydration break. So, yeah, I don't know. And Twitch never responded to me when I appealed, and I think it's fine, but whatever. And I actually keep meaning to post the letter that I got from Twitch when they suspended my account, so you guys can see the language of it. But I just keep losing track of time. It is in fact iced tea. I made fresh iced tea today, so it's real good. And I made my own simple syrup out of what do you call it? Turbinado sugar. So the syrup is kind of caramely. So yeah, that's why I'm just like pounding it back because it's just really nice. I like tea. I drink a lot of tea. Is this one that had a hole in it? Yeah, that's the one that had a hole in it. Okay. All right. Everybody's saying it's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these on regular stream. So there's nobody on the Instagram live, so I'm going to end it. End video. I'm going to discard that one. That wasn't a very good one. So we'll say discard video, discard. And so now I move this guy. Hello, friend. How's it going? You're here just in time for a pile of rodent heads. It's that kind of day. So actually, I should change this to gross. Hey, gross. All good. Hope everyone's fine too. Hey, glad to hear it. All right. Go back to this. Oh, Rumi left. Yeah, Shard Mom. I was gonna say I just realized that Rumi was gone, so let's put on some music before I start doing my cleaning. So to friend and anybody else who's new, I am cleaning 3 rodent heads so I can have the nice clean little skulls. And actually, I have one that's been soaking for a couple days, so this one is already clean, and I just have to pick like the residual stuff off of it. And once I get the skulls nice and clean, I will be able to play with them because they're rodent skulls, so they're basically just commodity. And so I've been practicing gluing rhinestones on them and making them into jewelry because it's kind of fun. Because I mean, what else do you do when you have just a pile of rodent heads? You know. Okay. So I'm starting out with ambient, but reminder, y'all can spend channel points if you want different music. Okay, yeah, you guys can see my work surface pretty well. So, interesting size difference, at least in my opinion. Rat skull, mouse skull. So, they're both young versions of their species, so young mouse, young rat, but it's still, the size difference is kind of crazy. I actually had someone at the event I was at yesterday ask what the difference is between rats and mice, and the short, I guess, obnoxious answer is they're different species, so that's rude, and I didn't say that. The bigger answer is you can pretty much tell immediately by size. So all I'm doing here is these guys have all the big muscles and everything, that were useful to them in life. But if I'm going to be soaking this to get it clean, I need to take all those muscles off. Frog teeth, hey. Could a mouse skull fit in a rat skull? Oh, man. Do I have any around? Yes? But so the bottom of the brain, basically I'd have to like hinge or just remove the bottom of the brain case and then you could put it on the inside. But there's too much bone in the middle of the skull, so there's not like actually a space in there, but kind of yes. So we're gonna go with kind of yes. So yeah, I could do like a turducken, except it's a Marat. I don't know. And then I need some bigger rodent, maybe a squirrel, rat, mouse, turducken. Now we're getting weird. Actually, let me get my smaller scissors. Let's get these reasonable size. So when I'm doing rodent heads, the first thing I try to take off is the big cheek muscles. Rodents are famous for gnawing on things, right? Their teeth grow continuously throughout their whole life, so they have to gnaw on things or else their teeth will eventually outgrow their face and they won't be able to eat and they die. So they gnaw on everything. They gnaw on metal, like wood, all sorts of rat mouse roll, yeah. And so their cheek muscles are understandably humongous. So lucky I found this channel. This is some actual content, not the garbage see on every second stream. Thank you, I appreciate it. Honestly, friend, I'm trying to find a balance because my Twitch was suspended for 7 days because someone reported me for gore. But I am I'm a museum preservationist, and most of the work that I've been doing is at least related to the museum preservation. I don't currently work for a museum, I got laid off, but I'm showing the techniques and stuff like that. And yeah, the whole vulture culture thing is so cool. And someone hit me for gore, which really surprised me. Oh, there's gross. Okay, yeah, this is way too old. There are fly eggs inside the mouth. Can you guys see that? You see the white, it's not gore. And if you look at the, I should actually make this a link. The community guidelines page will tell you that you can't have excessive gore or promotion of violence. And, yeah. Anyway, I could go on. Persecuted. Anywho, thank you. I'm glad you're here. I do taxidermy-related stuff Saturdays and Wednesdays. And on Tuesday, I have a dedicated just chatting stream where I drink tea and we talk about science a lot. And on Thursdays, I'm usually doing other projects, whatever other stuff I gotta get done. Sometimes it's actually making the boxes I put the taxidermy in or other supplies that I'm prepping. But I have 2 dedicated not gross days and 2 dedicated fairly gross days. So, like taking down a cooking channel for showing raw meat. Yeah, and apparently we've been talking about this. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the Knowledge Fellowship. They're fantastic. It's a group of science streamers and education streamers. Everything from glass blowing teachers through astronomy, through physics, and they're just, elementary math, everything. And we were talking about this because apparently on the channels that show live fishing, people will go fishing and actually gut the fish because that's just considered to be a part of fishing. So they're catching the animal, killing the animal, and ripping its guts out, and that's okay. But I'm not. So rah rah rah, argle bargle. Sorry, I do go on. But in case they take me down again, I recommend following my Discord. I do post the updates on there, so hopefully I won't get suspended ever again, because that was a real kick in the face, but I try to give everybody updates on how things are going over there. Alright. Almost got this lower jaw off. This lower jaw full of frickin' eggs. Oh, early decomposers. So flies will lay their eggs in the mouths, eyes, ears, nose, and anus of dead things, because those are entry points. They're soft mucous membranes where their maggots can get started, and so it doesn't look like the fly eggs had time to hatch, but they're, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick that up. A little bit. You can see the kind of oblong white things in there. Those are fly eggs. Gotten Jeffrey Dahmer a lot from people for being interested in taxidermy and collecting bones. Yeah, right? Like, it's such a bummer. Yeah, we would have interesting discussions, because in my lab at the museum, a number of my volunteers were vegetarian or vegan. So you have vegetarians or vegans doing work like this because it's not about that. And like, this is a dead mouse that somebody found in their yard and gave to me. These rats were going to be fed to reptiles, but they were they got really freezer burned. Like, you can really tell on this one. See how the front of the skull is really white and the back is kind of a gray red? This is freezer burn. So it was in the freezer so long it became mummified. And they didn't want to feed that to the reptiles because it's not as nutritious and healthy for them. Which is great. Lutsky, hello, thank you for the follow. And so yeah, most of my stuff is repurposed, incidental stuff when I'm not doing things that are directly for a museum. So at the moment I am between specific research tasks. I'm hoping to pick up some stuff this summer. We'll find out. But yeah, it's a whole world. And I did have a live event on Friday, which was very nice. I was hoping to really talk up the taxidermy class that I'm going to be teaching on the 19th. But pretty much everybody who showed up had like really little kids, and the adults didn't seem terribly interested, so I don't know how far that flew. But you know what? Whatever, I had a nice time talking to people. Oh, the jaw is broken. Oh, that's a bummer. I don't know how well you guys can see that. See how this side's really short? Where's the rest of your jaw? Is it broken or is it malformed? No, that has to be broken. Did I cut through the bone? I didn't even notice it? No. Weird. I'm missing the back half of that jaw. Strange. Anyway. Um, Wonder about the biological society safety of picking up dead rodents. Yes, that is actually. Let's talk about that. There are some famously, absolutely horrific things that dead rodents can carry. Um, and so you'll notice I am wearing gloves. I'm working on on the paper towel, but then also I have a non-porous surface, so the glass is very easy to completely disinfect. There are things. So most of them you have to. It has to contact an open wound, or you have to like ingest it. But like hantavirus, I think can just be on your skin. I think hantavirus is actually pretty funky. But yeah, there's actually a bunch of things that you can get from reptiles. What? From rodents. So I am a little more careful. And the good thing is most of the rodenticides, so let's say that this mouse died of being poisoned on purpose because it was in someone's house, it's really unlikely that I would have any downside from that, because the amount of rodenticide that the mouse could have possibly ingested, even if I personally ingested the entire amount of the rodenticide, I'm so large, it wouldn't particularly make me sick. And since I definitely wouldn't be eating the entire stomach contents of a dead mouse, I definitely will never be getting a high enough load for that to affect me. So, but yeah, anytime you're handling dead stuff, you really got to be kind of aware where it came from, how fresh is it, what do you know about it, and what species is it, so you can make a determination. So when I'm working on birds that hit windows, I never wear gloves. There's so few diseases I would be able to pick up from them. Whereas I actually don't work on Illinois rabbits at all. I just won't touch them because they carry, oh my god, tularemia. And tularemia is a bacterial infection that they get on their skin, and so when you're fussing the dead rabbit, you're kind of poofing the skin and it releases particles that you can breathe, and then you get lung lesions. Lung lesions. No, I don't need that. So tularemia, also called rabbit fever, is something that hunters and folks like that can get because it comes from specifically handling the dead things. So yeah, just don't. Tularemia is in Chicago. They do keep track of it, and so I check in with friends of mine in the veterinary world and people who track wildlife disease, and they're just like, yeah, don't. And I'm like, no, I don't. I'll just skip rabbits, thanks. So yeah, be aware. And also I'm happy to say in the United States, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, is pretty good about having updates about maybe not the regions, all the regions that you can find diseases, but what sorts of things you could pick up. So, because obviously people who are hunting, who intend to eat the stuff that they're catching, need to know what's prevalent in their area. And so you can catch and butcher rabbits and eat them in Illinois, but I would do it outdoors with a lot of airflow, things like that. And I think we've talked about this before. I'm in Chicago, so I'm in the middle of the United States. On the West Coast, oh, I found the other part of the jaw, okay. On the West Coast of the United States is literally the plague. Like, the Black Death is in rodents on the West Coast of the United States. So there's that. Apart from taxidermy, do you also do entomology? Not really. I have pinned a cicada on stream. It was the first time I ever did a cicada, and it was cool, but I'm generally vertebrates. So I'm trying to learn more about entomology, but I'm an absolute noob. So anything that I'm doing from the point of view of this is nifty and I'm learning. You were thinking of that when you asked about biosafety. Yeah, the plague. Literally, the Black Death is a thing. So luckily, the Black Death is a bacteria, but it's carried by fleas, so they would be on the rodents, but you predominantly would get it through flea bites. And I've mentioned this before, whenever all of my specimens are frozen before I interact with them. Ooh, that was very dramatic. And so I freeze them for at least 10 days, if not longer in the case of these super freeze-dried ones. And so if they're frozen, that will kill most ectoparasites. And ectoparasites are the things that live on the outside of you, and most of them need heat to survive. That's why they live on animals. So you freeze them, they just freaking die. Ben Jobflick, hello. Thank you for following. That's it. Every other year there's news of someone with the plague that handled rodents to the desert or something. Yep. I think entomology is so freaking beautiful. Yeah. You can have a couple of frames of insects hanging here. Yeah, and I don't have my camera pointing right now, but I actually have a mounted butterfly on the wall back there. That was purchased, but I do. Ask Mortician did a great video on the plague outbreak in San Francisco in the 1900s. Ask Mortician just does a lot of great stuff. So, yes. Yeah, every year there's a couple more cases of plague. Usually the people who get plague these days are people who are staying in cabins in the woods where the rodents have been, you know, playing and running around in the cabin while nobody was in the cabin. And so they're, you know, rub their little mousy butts on everything, and that's often how people get plague, is they go on a lovely camping trip, stay in a lovely cabin, and end up with the Black Death. Luckily, it's treatable with antibiotics. So if you think you have the Black Death, talk to your doctor. Because maybe you do. That is a thing. Yeah, the most likely really bad thing I could get around here is hantavirus. And so, yeah, I wear gloves, and I try to be aware of that, because I do not want hantavirus. Thank you very much. Because that one will kill you. Most of the other ones are just, like, you'll be very sick, but it's like a lot of diarrheals and things like that. Like leptosporidia, things like that. We have a super nasty Ebola-level virus here that is found in rodent droppings. Ooh. Ebola-like, that's not okay. Yeah, and so maybe where you are, maybe don't. You know, maybe don't handle them. Or like for certain types of preservation, they actually would have a respirator on or things like that. So there's definitely levels of care that one should take. So if I really wanted to do rabbits, I would be somewhere with a hood. I might have a respirator, things like that. If I knew that there was an Ebola-like thing carried by rodents in my area, either I just wouldn't work on them, or yeah, you could do the respirator thing. So there's options, but you have to have a good reason. So like, one of the reasons I'm working on mouse and rat skulls is they're legal, they're easy to find, and they're kind of attractive. I like how rodent skulls look, and so they're a good one for me to work on. But I don't work on rabbits because of the potential for disease. So I could just pivot if it turns out that the rodents are too much. Although again, these guys are factory farmed rats, so they're much less likely to carry horrific diseases because they wouldn't want to be selling those to people and get sued. I actually know a lot of people who just handle the dead rats and mice for their snakes barehanded, which that's not my cup of tea, but I can see being blasé about it. Okay. Well, I got most of it off, so now I'm going to scoop out some brain and then I'm pretty good. So, this is my little mouse skull so far. So you can see I've got the cheekbones are still intact. I'm pretty happy about that. It's cute little twofers. And I gotta see how much brain I can scoop out of here before I try to get it soaking. Because I like to leave the skulls whole, I basically have to get all of the brain out through the occipital condyle on the back of the head, and it's a big old pain in the butt. But larger specimens, it's not really a problem, but for something like a mouse, you basically just, you do the, for anybody who ever heard about this with ancient Egyptians, where you basically scramble the brains and start hooking them out. Effectively, that's what I'm doing, except it's coming out the back of the head instead of their nose. You know, I probably just own enough table salt I can salt that little mouse skin and get the tanning process started on that. I have a backlog of things I'm gonna try to tan. I have a huge rat skin. I have a squirrel tail, and then I decided not to do the squirrel tonight, and I'm kind of glad. But probably next week I'll do the other squirrel that I have. And then once I have a bunch of stuff, I'll salt everything and actually get all the chemicals to try doing tanning, since it's nice here and I can do that on my balcony. How long does it usually take from the very beginning to the final exhibit of the work on average? Oh, geez. Friend, that... Whew. Okay, so when it comes to a rat head, the full getting the muscle off, bleaching it, and having a nice clean skull, I can do that in like 2 or 3 days. And that's with all of the soaking time and things like that. If you're talking about like a full taxidermy piece, that varies so wildly. So if I'm doing something the size of a rat or a mouse as a study skin, so like the research specimens where it's the long, thin, torpedo-looking dude, you can bust that out. If I'm not talking to anybody, I could probably do that in an hour. If I'm talking to people, I go slower. But like I did rat study skin at the last open house I was at, and I was there for 4 hours, I think. Yeah, it was 11 to 3, so it was 4 hours. And that's with, like, chatting and walking around and coming back. So I did a complete 100% done rat study skin in 4 hours with huge amounts of distraction. But if you're doing, like, the full mounted, beautiful, lifelike thing, we're looking at weeks, potentially. If it's a mammal, you have to tan the skin, and then you spend a lot of time building the internal sculpture and the whole 9 yards, so it can take forever. I can mount a small bird in a lifelike pose in probably 12 hours of active work time. So like a starling, I think I can fully mount a starling in something like 12 to 20 hours. And so, and again, this is where it's interesting that my background, my taxidermy is for research and education purposes. So I know people who have done professional taxidermy, like where they'll do like 8 pheasants in a day, because they're just at one of those pro shops and they're just whipping through them to get them to hunters and things like that for trophies. And that's a whole different ball of wax. So the professionals who do like the trophies and things like that are way faster than me. But their focus is different. So it's pretty quick. I mean, I didn't know anything about all of this. Yeah, it varies wildly. And like, man, my friends and I skinned a couple of beavers last summer, and just skinning the 2 beavers took us like 10 hours. And those hides are still sitting in a freezer because we ran out of time. Because then I got laid off. But yeah, so it varies wildly. But those specimens that we would do in the lab, people could usually completely, even with big school groups and talking to a lot of people, they could usually completely do like a bird study skin in 4 to 6 hours, maybe 8 hours if it was a really crazy spring day. So, yeah. Some of it you get really good at. Honestly, the skinning you get fast. Taking stuff apart you get fast. The time sink that can take forever is making it look beautiful. Which, you know, taking something apart's easy, making it look good is, whew, a whole different world. So if you're doing the research specimens, they're such a simple form, you can usually bust those out nice and fast. But if you're doing the life mount, you know, we're talking a long time. Like a long, long time. And I'm learning mammals. That's actually one of the reasons I'm still, like, doing things like cleaning these skulls and work like that. My lab focused on birds. Because birds whacked into the windows, and so there was a backlog that went back years of the specimens that had hit the windows and died, and then they were tracking the deaths. So most of the work I've ever done has been songbirds. But I've been getting a lot more practice with rodents because right now I don't have the licensing to be able to work on songbirds since I'm not with a research institution right now. And that's another one on my big to-do list. And here I am on my rat now. I'm cutting off that big cheek muscle to start with. On the big to-do list is finishing my federal forms so that I can have the federal salvage license. Which actually, if someone would be so kind as to type !bird law, one word, into the chat. Man, working on the rat is so much easier than that mouse. This is a much bigger critter. Frogty, thank you very much. So, just in case anybody doesn't know, in the United States and a lot of North America and other partners, there's something called the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, which is linked here, which prohibits the possession, in part or in full, its body, feathers, nest, or eggs, any migratory bird. Bird law wall, heck yeah it is. And so you can't actually have local birds in the United States legally without a lot of licensing. And so even though I am a professional preservationist and have been doing this for years, once I was no longer working for a research institution, my licensing lapsed, and I have to reapply as an individual, and that basically means that Fish and Wildlife gets to look at me real close and be like, I don't know, do you really need to have those birds? You don't have a clue about American... Yeah, so yeah, it's neat stuff. And of course, that's very specifically US. I have no idea individual countries outside the US. If anybody wants to do stuff like this, I super duper recommend doing the work to make sure whatever you do is legal. please follow the law. But yeah, migratory birds. Lots and lots of coverage here in the United States. Which is really good. So as much as I would rather be working on a songbird than a rat right now, I would rather have them be protected than not. Okay, so that's just a bunch of gross. Moths per hour. Wow. Okay, I love your name. Hey, thanks for the follow. I need a place to put the clean heads. I can just set it here, I guess. You can't see it, though, if it's there. Okay, hold on. Need more paper toweling, obviously. Okay. So, there's my little mouse. The mouse is done. On to a rat. I'm getting these guys cleaned up. And this is weird. The rats are albinos, so you can see this eerie kind of pinky red eye because they don't have any pigment. So normally, like, these are the eyes of the mouse. You can see they're darker colored. I don't know how well you could see that. There, comparatively, it's way, way darker because there's, you know, the natural eye coloration in there. But the albino ones are what they breed to feed rats or use in labs or things like that. So the eyes are kind of an eerie, empty white. And actually, no, I put her outside. I think it's, yeah, this one. No, this was the one I did the study skin of. One of the ones I did recently. Oh, no, this one that's in the container. I mounted her as a full life-mounted rat. She came out really, really nicely, and I gave her red eyes because that's what she had in life, and it absolutely freaks people out. Everybody keeps asking me why she has red eyes, and they think she looks extra evil, and I'm like, because she's albino. I wanted to show what she looked like when she was alive, and she had red eyes. But it's okay. It's an interesting talking point about albinism, so. Man, okay, I wonder if I just cut the corner off of this jaw, because it's a tiny little mouse and I was going too fast. Well, I'll still keep that, but I might not actually put that all back together. So it has been interesting doing work outside of the museum because my focus is different. At the museums, it was get the freezers as empty as possible as fast as possible. So my team and I were just whipping through bags of birds as fast as we could to get into the research collection and out of the freezer so they could actually be useful. Because if it's in a freezer, they're not cataloged, they're not really useful, they're just taking up space and energy because you have to have the freezers running. So we were trying to get them online as fast as possible. Ooh, you know what I should do? Okay, so the next chat command I need to do is for Arctos, because a lot of the specimens we worked on are actually listed in Arctos, so you guys can see their information. You can put black eyes on her and say she's leucistic, yeah. And then everybody will be like, what's leucism? But, yeah. Lusky, do you make skeletal rearticulations? Not really. So, I don't have the flesh-eating beetles. And so, man, sorry, here's mouse hair on my nose. How annoying. The only bones that I clean are the ones I can do with my giant, thuggish human hands, and so something this fine is about as minute as I can get. So cleaning, like, the ribs or the toe bones, I can't do it. You need flesh-eating beetles for that. And my apartment, there's no way I could set that up inside my apartment. The only outdoor space I have at all is a, like, 12-foot by 5-foot balcony. And I have a beloved spouse who's not into that. So I can't do the full articulations, but I'm still trying to learn. And so I actually, where do I have it? Here, actually, I'll show you guys this. This I think is worth it. And it gives me an excuse to have my gloves out for a minute. I'm trying to learn articulation. And so, okay, you can see this. So this is the skeleton of a infant opossum. Its mother was hit by a car and the baby died in the pouch. And a friend of mine who does have the beetles cleaned the skeleton, kept the skull because she collects skulls, and gave me the whole rest of the body. Oh, Jiggly, thank you so much. And so what I'm planning on doing is, now that I've got everything glued down in the right spot, you can see how it's really exploded out. You know, this is like 3 times the actual length of what the baby opossum would have been. I'm going to go through and label every single bone, because I don't know the names. I know some of them, you know, like femur, whatever, but even just knowing the different areas of the spine, like caudal vertebrae, oh, I've already forgotten. This is lumbar. Yeah, so I gotta work on this. So this is for me to learn. And so it's just, you know, glued onto paper. But this way I have the real bones. I got to really get into it. And then I'm hoping to eventually kind of do some amounts of articulation, but I gotta figure it out. Yes, the articulate reptile. Not here. Are you on right now? Because if you are, I'd love a shout out for the articulate reptile. Although actually, if he's not on, I don't know if you could do it. But yeah, everybody should follow the articulate reptile. He's great. He's a biologist who does the full mounting for like pet memorials and art and other things, and he's very, very knowledgeable. My nuggets tickle. Beautiful, clear, clean layout. Aw, thanks, man. Yeah, this is not true to life. You know, so that was an interesting decision to make, where, you know, having these huge gaps and the legs laid out like that, not true to life. But, oh, thank you so much, Jiggly. So, but this is for me. And so I'm hoping to eventually do fully articulated things. And then here's the other one that cracks me up. A friend of mine gave me this book, and it's basically, what, Beginner's Guide to Necromancy? How to make your own dinosaur out of chicken bones. What? So this is the book that exists. You make a sauropod out of chicken bones. So I need to cook some chickens. I'm really behind on this project. But the point of this is it teaches you how to mount things. And so there's actually full instructions in here about how to, like, set up the supports to articulate it. And they're bones that if you screw it up, you just go eat another roasted chicken and then you can replace that bone. And so it's a great way to learn the mounting skills with a low threshold of success, because if you biff it, you just change it because it's already not real. And so I'm looking forward to trying that. And then eventually I have an opossum skeleton that's waiting for me. So once I feel like I can hack it, I do have an opossum skeleton I want to try and mount. But it's all about learning because these are things I didn't do at the museum. I never had time, and they weren't prioritized. The museum needed taxidermy. The museum needed adorable birds skinned as fast as possible, and so that's what we did. What is the need of the institution was skin songbirds, so we skinned songbirds. But now that I'm on my own, I can work on whatever I want to learn. And it's on the list. So, and I do watch The Articulate Reptile and what's it called? Bones by Mo. Is that what the formerly known as Mo the Bone Lady? I think that's what their channel is called now. And that's another great artist who does full articulations on Twitch, and I very strongly recommend. And on my Discord right now too, I have a friend who does not currently stream, but posts a lot of their vulture culture work and is doing a lot of wet work. So if you're interested in preserving things in formaldehyde, she has a lot of updates on that. Scrolling through your profile, and I read that you have a P.O. box. Have you ever done a P.O. box unboxing on stream? People haven't sent me anything too weird. So I did do a P.O. box unboxing, and I actually... Okay, I got my gloves back on, but somebody from my Amazon wishlist got me a magnificent set of tweezers. It's maybe it is a full dozen slightly different shapes of tweezers. You know, some are bent, some are straight, some kind of tweeze like this, some tweeze like this. Oh, it's wonderful. And so I don't use those for the wet stuff like this. I use those for other types of detail work, and they're delightful. So that was a lot of fun to open up on stream. So yes, absolutely. But that's also why I do have the thing on my profile about don't send me dead things. Because for one, be nice to the postal workers, y'all. So yeah, don't send me something that would be illegal, that if I opened it on stream, it would be bad. But I also had someone send me a cute sticker because I was talking about opossums so much. She found a really adorable sticker online, and so sent me like a nice little card and a sticker. So yeah, I've gotten a few things. But if anybody is inspired, the P.O. box is there. I'm happy to have stuff off my Amazon wishlist. And reminder, if you do look at the Amazon wishlist and you want to get me something, if you can get it from a local store or from something small on Amazon, I support that. Moth per hour, hey. Someone from the museum. Oh, I'll tell you on Twitch. Oh my gosh, Moths per hour is your first initial H and your last initial K, because I think I know who you are. And I hope that's the case. But it's great to see you. Yeah, okay. Hey, I'm glad you can make it onto my Twitch. Yeah, so, man, yeah, I miss all you guys. So yeah, for anybody who wasn't reading the bio or hasn't seen this, I used to work for the Chicago Academy of Sciences, and I was laid off in October along with 16 of my dear colleagues, as well as hundreds and thousands of museum workers across the world, because all the cultural institutions were closed in 2020. And that's how, businesses can try to stay solvent. So yeah, that's why I'm on here now. It's state of the world. So basically, getting laid off in 2020 was very trendy. Can't pass that up, or something. But I miss my folks. Okay, and Moths per hour is a phenomenal screen name, so good for you. That's great. Yeah, and I actually got to see a bunch of people from the museum yesterday because they were at the same live event that I was at. So got to see people from the biology department. It's interesting to be, still in the area and still do things similar to the old institution, and I can't find work right now in a lot of the places I've been contacting because they haven't even gone back to full capacity yet for the people they used to have, so they're not looking for new people, which is fair. I'd rather they hire back their own people first. But that's a bummer. So yeah, no matter where you are in the world, please support your local cultural institutions. Go to your museums. Donate to them, buy things out of their gift shops. And also, if you go to a restaurant, tip your server a lot. It doesn't have anything to do with museums, but they're not having a good time either. So, we do carry on. It's all you can do. And sometimes the way you carry on is with some rat heads. So actually, Moths Per Hour, or anybody else who's interested, if someone can please type !Discord, that's a great place to chat when I'm not on my stream. And that way I can answer questions, or, we can share pictures. There's also just meme share and all that important foolishness. And so that's a way that I can be a little more responsive than when I'm trying to do multiple things, but I'm happy to. Thank you, Jiggly. Yeah, I wish I could come visit some museums again. But they'll come back, hopefully. I'm glad you could tell who I was from my username. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm trying. I actually, I was given a 7-day suspension from Twitch for gore, 2 weeks ago, because someone decided that what I was doing was too much, and so we kind of went back and forth on what I should be working on today, but I figured this isn't so bad. I mean, it kind of looks like nothing. But, trying to figure it out. Yeah. Oh, and actually, Moths Per Hour, you can be really proud of me. We were talking about entomology on here earlier, and my background is not entomology, but I have been around many luminous and beautiful humans who are into entomology and answer my questions about it, and I've seen a lot of people do pinning. And so I actually did pin a cicada from last summer on my stream a little bit ago. But there's another streamer named Freckled Science. And she's Canadian, she's from Toronto, she does all sorts of different science. And I was on her stream one day and she was pinning Lepidoptera. She had just finished pinning a bunch of Lepidoptera. She had a bunch of moths that she'd bought online for the express purpose of pinning. They're really pretty. And she was just looking at her finished work after they had dried, and she wasn't totally happy with everything. And I had popped on the channel, and I said, I don't know, something bland and helpful. I don't remember what it was. And she starts freaking out because she knows me, or she recognized me, and she's like, oh my god, can you walk me through this? What should I do next? Because it turns out she had a bunch of beetles that she wanted to work on. And so I ended up getting onto her Discord and co-streaming with her and walking her through how to pin beetles so they actually had their wings out. Because she didn't know that you could actually lift up the beetle elytra and pull out their true wings and pin the wings out. And her beetles came out great, because they're big old stag beetles and things like that. It was wonderful. I think when it's bigger body, Twitch is more like a flag for gore. That's the thing, Moths Per Hour, I was flagged for skinning a rat. It was a medium-sized rat. It was one about this size. So I had done the whole thing. She came out great. It's actually a really great mount. But I don't know. Someone disagreed. I don't know. I don't know. But I also do recommend Freckled Science for anybody who's interested in science streamers. She's very hype. Yeah, it was for a rat. Yeah. Freckled Science is great. She's a lot of fun. She's very hype. I tend to be a little bit chill. She does not. She's a lot of fun. And actually something I really should add to my my about page is the Knowledge Fellowship, too. The Knowledge Fellowship is a group of people who stream on Twitch, primarily, who do science and education type things. They're really, really nice. They just let me into their Cool Kids Club, so I gotta plug them, because I was very pleased about that. And there's so many different people on there doing so many different educational things. So if you want to get better at math, someone will show you how to get better at math. If you want to learn blacksmithing or glass blowing, there's people who walk you through that. If you want to, I'm on there for biology and taxidermy. Astronomers is great stuff. It's great stuff. So I recommend, since my hands are dirty right now, I recommend Googling the Knowledge Fellowship. I'll get a link on my page at some point, hopefully within the next week. Because I've been learning a ton of good stuff from them. It's great. During the pandemic, I was pinning a bunch of insects, including cicadas and beetles. Spreading the wings was super fun. Yeah, definitely join the Discord and share stuff. I have some vulture culture stuff I really want to speak to you about. Yeah, no, please jump on there. So yeah, get on that Discord. And Moths, you might know some of the people who are already on the Discord. I'm not sure who you would specifically remember from the museum, and everybody came in on different days, stuff like that, but there's a good amount of crossover. There's some fun people. Not everybody, but everybody would be hard. That was hundreds and hundreds of people, so. It's been so interesting to try and keep in touch with my volunteer base because I was the volunteer coordinator, and so I didn't want to be a creep and be like, hey, be my friend, because that could come off as a little weird, so I've been trying to stay back and be chill, but I miss people. And I think of a lot of people from the museum as my friends, but I had to have that, like, professional, yeah, like, I'm the boss, I gotta not be weird about it sort of stuff. And I wouldn't want anybody to feel pressured to be my Facebook friend or whatever, because that's, again, creepy. But glad when I can reconnect. Because I'd say 98% of the people who choose to volunteer for a museum are pretty cool. Probably 2.5% of those are maybe a little weirder than you want, or just not into things you want. And then there's the few screwballs who are left in there, but that's just humanity for you. Aw, thanks, Mossfer. I sure tried. I sure tried. Oh, wellsies. The institution carries on. And it is nice to know that the specimens that I preserved are still in the collection. So even if I'm not there, kind of the whole point of the collection is it carries on. So the Chicago Academy of Sciences was founded in 1857. And so their stuff goes back a long time, and it's neat to know that I'm in that collection too. My various birds and mammals are preserved in there along with ones from the 1800s and on, and it's a nice feeling. So you always want that to kind of carry on longer than you. That's sort of the point. Yeah, I definitely would love to do some more insect pinning. I'm just, I haven't gone out and tried to do any collection. And I know you can buy them online, but I'm trying to keep my finances as tied down as I can, which, let me tell you, is hard when you're buying a lot of streaming equipment. Taxer Legacy, yeah. Like, oh man, the first time I got to label a fossil that went into the Field Museum's collection, I flipped out. Like, my heart rate rose to the roof. Because the way they label the fossils is you actually paint a little white rectangle on part of the bone somewhere inobtrusive, and then using black archival pen, you actually write the accession number on the fossil directly, so that way you don't have a tag that falls off. It's just on the stone. And so not only did I clean that fossil, but my handwriting is preserved at the Field Museum. So I didn't work at the Field Museum. I'm a volunteer at the Field Museum. So I worked at the Chicago Academy of Sciences, and I volunteer at the Field. But that was a pretty cool feeling. To be like, yay! Not only is my work here, but my actual literal handwriting is in the collection. I think a little bit of my handwriting is in the Nature Museum Academy's collection too, but they really tried to have more stuff digital. I think I have some in there. I think so. Ooh, the music got kind of creepy. There we go. So I'm getting this rat skull done. So I've got those nice zygomatic arches pretty cleared out. I've got most of the stuff out of the eye orbits. Mostly out. So I'm not going to try and get absolutely everything right now, but what I want is as much of the absorbent muscle and tissue out of the way so that when I soak this in hydrogen peroxide, the chemical reaction just has less to chemically react with, so it'll be stronger. Because if it has to chew through lots and lots of muscle, it'll, you know, fade faster. But this is looking pretty good. I am way better at cleaning decent-sized rat skulls than I am mouse skulls. Nothing about that is exciting or surprising. But it does make me feel better, because doing that little mouse skull, I was starting to be like, man, I suck at this. But of course I do. I have humongous human hands, and I'm trying to deal with a tiny, tiny little mouse skull. No degreasing before the hydrogen peroxide? No, not with something this small. The hydrogen peroxide actually does the degreasing for me. Good question, though. Yeah, so if I was doing something larger, you might want to do that. But luckily, the rat skulls are so small that... actually, Mothsprower, you might remember that we did a couple of taxidermy classes for the public at the Nature Museum. And part of those classes is people were mounting a rat, and I actually gave them go-home instructions so they could take their rat head home in a baggie and prep it at home, because it's simple enough that most people can pull it off just with stuff that you'd buy at CVS on the way home. Hello, friend. It is 8:29 here. So I'm in Chicago, so that's Central Daylight Time. So, 8:30 p.m. So, what is that? 20:30 at night. Oh, you've only done raccoon as a deer. Yeah, that whole different ballpark when you're up to that big. See, I haven't gotten to play with anything that big. Because in the museum we just didn't have need, and with my little workshop here, I don't know if I would say no, but I have not come across such things yet. Although I do have my trapping license, which means I can pick up fur-bearing animals off the side of the highway. Oh, and anybody in Illinois can pick up a deer. It's 3:30 a.m. in Germany. Yeah. Yeah, I get a fair number of Germans who are up at the absolute middle of the night watching my stream. So, hello, friend. If you want to see more stuff like this on Wednesdays, I stream starting at 1 o'clock p.m. My time. And so that's more like evening, reasonable time. So I do like an early afternoon stream. Which is usually a little more humane for my European friends. Yeah, I actually have a couple of folks in Germany who tend to watch a lot, but I think classes right now have been interrupting a bunch of those people being able to stop in. But yeah, like, there's still light in the sky. It's definitely getting on, but... Oh, so much brain. You don't mind this time, it's night and I'm a night owl. Perfect. But I do try to have the variety just because the audience is so global. It's neat to be on at different times to see different people in different regions of the world be able to tune in. And people from different countries have the different points of view on all of this stuff, and there's different techniques. Like, even actually, speaking of Germany, there was a major museum conference in Germany a couple years ago that the collections manager from the Chicago Academy of Sciences went to, and it turns out they handled little bird specimens totally different. So she came back with all these different notes that had to be translated from German because we wanted to compare their style. And like, I forget exactly which institution it was, but they would take the dead small songbirds and just put them in water and then freeze them, so you never got freezer burn, which is much like more intense and it takes up a lot more room, but it's going to preserve the specimen better. That was cool. One Thick Turtle. Hey, good name. Thank you for the follow. But yeah, so it's neat when you, because stuff like this, the preservation, yeah, these guys, like, you can see how freezer burn this was. This rat was meant to be fed, it's one of those pre-frozen rats you can buy that was meant to be fed to snakes, and the bag was in the back of the freezer, so it freezer burned. They didn't want to feed it to the snakes anymore because it was gross, so they gave it to me. So I've got these two freezer burned ones, and this is a mouse that someone found dead in their yard. So it's too bad, but I'm glad they're here. I'm glad to have the pieces, even though they don't get to do their thing anymore. And it was funny because the person who gave me the freezer burn rats, I was like, "Oh, you think they're that bad?" And then I get in there and I'm like, "Oh, that's real bad," because this white should be, meaty colored, but this is all just mummified. Like, yeah, you wouldn't want to feed that to a reptile. At this point, all the nutrition's out of it. You wouldn't be doing that critter any good. And so I'm glad they care about their reptiles and get them good food. I will take their disgusting weird leftovers. I'm glad we can work it out. And it was really interesting researching Illinois law to find out ways that I could legally do stuff like pick up roadkill. Oh yeah, oh gosh, ew, I would never skin something that was alive. That's horrifying. Ooh. No, no, yeah. I don't kill things purposely for my work. I try to get stuff that's secondhand, or incidental death, being hit by cars, hitting windows. Sometimes you just get unlucky. Because I don't think my stuff's important enough, I want to be killing a dude. Live cat taxidermy. My cat was on my desk demanding attention while I'm trying to do this. So it's more that the cat was trying to do taxidermy. Where is Rumi? Does he go to sleep? Oh, actually, I think he's out of the room at this point. Yeah, he got bored. Yeah. No, Rumi, he was ignoring me all day. No, don't pet me. I'm sleeping. I don't care about you. Didn't care at all. And he gets his dinner, and then he's like, I love you. And so he's all in my face when I'm trying to do this. So, yeah, if you probably can't access the VOD yet, but if you feel like going and watching the very beginning of my stream from this today, it's a lot of Rumi. And for a while, I didn't even have the music on because he was purring so loud that my mic was picking it up, and so we just had a Rumi soundtrack. So, yeah, world's most spoiled freaking cat. Hey Frank, how's it going? But yeah, Thick Turtle, if you have any other questions about the stuff I work on, please. Like, a lot of people have concerns, and I am absolutely happy to answer your questions. Trash Dandy 420, hey, how's it going? Frank, things are okay. Things are okay. I had a live event yesterday, so I actually was talking to real human beings while I was sitting at a table, so that was cool. It was very different, and I'm not used to people touching my stuff. I used to be used to that, so when I had the museum desk and I was doing this work in front of people, I was pretty good about, hey, keep your hands back, and knowing where you could set stuff that people were less likely to reach forward. And I'm out of habit. So luckily I wasn't doing prep yesterday, I just had finished specimens that I was talking to people about and talking about the class I'm going to teach. But I need to get back in that habit. Um, do they come with brains when you skin them? Oh yeah, that's what I've been picking out this whole time we've been chatting. So all of this smear here is the brains that I'm getting out of the back. Yeah, it's the whole dude. It's the entire enchilada. So everything is in there: brains, eyeballs, guts, whatever they last ate for dinner, um, stuff like that. And so I'm getting as much of it out as I can before I put it in the hydrogen peroxide to finish the deep clean and killing all the bacteria. Which actually reminds me, I need to get this palette off. Pellets are weird. They're the really rubbery skin. Like if you lick the top of your mouth, you know how it's the ridgy, especially on the front, it's all ridgy and weird. It's really tough tissue because it has to be resistant to the, the texture of the food you're eating. Except if it's Captain Crunch, because if you eat Captain Crunch, it rips up your mouth no matter what. And so that is this really rubbery, tough skin that you got to get off so that the hydrogen peroxide can actually get into the sinus and clear all that out. And sinuses are so complicated. There's a lot going on inside your nose. So like all of this space in the front here, it's not just empty. This is all full of all the nasal turbinates and all these little really, really delicate little structures that basically moisturize and warm up air as it heads through your head into your lungs. And also that's where like your snot is all over the nasal terminates. And so instead of having just an empty tube that the air would go through, the air actually has to go through kind of a maze to get through your sinuses. And that gives it a chance to like get all the dust and particles out of the air before you breathe it into your lungs. And so from the point of view of preserving stuff, you have to get in there and clean that, but hopefully without ripping apart the turbinates. And that's a whole world. Because a lot of this stuff is, you have to be rough enough to get the job done, but delicate enough that you're still preserving that which you want to preserve. Especially if you're doing it for research, you're trying to preserve everything. Because you don't know what the researchers of the future are going to be looking at. You're kind of holding it in trust. So the work that we would do at the museum, people would often ask, what's it going to be used for? Oh, I don't know. It's going to be in the archive for the next couple hundred years, and so I don't know what they're going to be studying in 70. Oh, hi, Remy. He's back. 75 years, there might be some breakthrough, because it's not like the people in 1900 knew about DNA analysis, and suddenly everybody's going back through the collections and getting DNA samples from things. So you just basically try to do a good job and hope that the researchers of the future like your work, which is weird but cool. It's basically like having a conversation with somebody 100 years from now. So I'll never hear their response, but I'm telling them things. And, here's this animal, here's what we know about it, here's what I did to preserve it, and here's what I hope you'll notice too. And sometimes we even leave questions for people of the future. So we're like, this might be a hybrid, or we found this strange thing in their digestive tract, just so you know, this is what we observed. Because a lot of that stuff can't be preserved. And so you just have to like write really good notes to tell the people of the future what you saw. And it's kind of cool. So museum collections are really neat. Because it really is just a very odd, multi-year long conversation. There's arguments in the museum collections that are very funny. You'll usually with identification. So someone will identify a bird. I'm going to make up a bunch of names. These are not real animal names. So they're like, oh, this is a least purple seagull. And the next person will come up and be like, no, it's a least blue seagull. And then someone else will be, no, it's a least purple. And these are like 15, 20 years apart that someone is updating this. And then that person comes in and says, no, that's a subspecies. That's the greater least purple, whatever. And it's so funny. And then someone else is like, no, the first guy was right. It's a least purple. And it just gets batted back and forth over decades of people arguing about identification of some of these weird specimens. And like it's delightful when you find those conversations. And then you can weigh in if you want. And then 20 years later, somebody else will see your note and snirk. And like actually a kind of a funny example of that, So James John Audubon is the famous guy who kind of documented North American birds early on and kind of got North American birding going, along with some other stuff, but we won't go into his checkered past. So one of his birds that he did, and James John Audubon would actually go out and shoot the birds, bring them back to his studio and kind of prop them up, and then do watercolor painting of the birds. So they're beautiful artwork. So if you look up Audubon paintings, the artwork is lovely. And so he's doing it from an actual critter. It's not like his memory. He's got the thing in front of him. And he did a warbler that no one ever saw. They were looking and looking and looking, and people are like, this bird doesn't exist. What's Audubon talking about? There's birds that are sort of like it, but nothing has this coloring. And it was a raging debate in the birding community for a long time. And then finally, one popped up in the wild, and it's basically a really rare color morph of this particular species of warbler. And so the one that Audubon happened to find was the rare one. And that just baked everybody's noodle for like the next 120 years. Do you do other animals too? Thick turtle, sometimes. So at the museum, my specialty was small songbirds. That's the vast majority of what we did. Now that I'm on my own, I have to work around what I can work on legally and what I can possess legally. And so, like, these feeder rats are a great example of something that's just a commodity animal that's not regulated in any, huge sense. So I can own these and do whatever I want with them. But I also have, my hands are dirty right now, so I'm not going to grab it. But I actually recently learned how to skin snakes. Because in the state of Illinois, I can own up to 8 local species that are not threatened. And as I called the DNR and I talked to the lovely gentleman there who could answer my questions about that. He was great. And so I got to teach myself snake preservation with one of them I know died of heat stroke at a nature center. The other one I'm not sure. I think it actually might have been an education animal because I got it from the same nature center. So I've done snakes. Actually, I have a pigeon in my freezer I still have to work on. And then we were talking earlier, I have done a few insects, but I'm a newbie at insects. Hello, friend. What's actually going to happen to all the pieces of muscle and all that? Is it just tossed in the regular house trash? I suppose there's a special container for problematic waste. At least that's how it's done in Germany. Yeah, so this stuff is actually just considered kitchen scraps. So there is no regulation about what I do with the mouse parts. So I would just throw them in the regular trash. It smells real bad, and so I'll bundle this up and take it directly out behind my house into the trash out there because it's real stinky. Once it starts to go off, it's not bad right now, but spend a day and a half in the trash and it's pretty nasty. But most of them aren't regulated. Like even at the museum when we were working on birds and things like that, it's just kitchen scraps. It's like cutting the fat off of your chicken and throwing it away before you roast it. So, yeah, things like humans, apes or monkeys, those are biological hazards, and you have to be a little more careful because you don't want to put anything in the trash that's going to endanger sanitation workers. But this is considered just as gross as anything else you're going to find in the trash, so it's fine. Good question, though. Do snakes have bones, or are they all muscle? They do have bones. They have incredibly complicated bones. That's a fantastic question. Yeah, moths per hour. They have bones like crazy. So it's mostly ribs. So they have a skull. Actually, I have a snake skull, but again, my hands are dirty. So skull like you would expect, and then a couple of neck vertebrae, and then the ribs start. And so it's vertebrae all the way down. Ribs. And then there's a little bit of a difference where there's kind of a vestigial hip, more or less. And then it changes to tail. And they actually snakes have a tail. So they're not all one thing. There's actually their body and their tail is separate. And the bones are different and the musculature is different. They're really cool. So I really recommend Googling snake skeletons. They're beautiful. Really well articulated ones are lovely. And that's actually something that The Articulate Reptile does on Twitch. So if anybody wants to look him up, or if anybody wants to do another shout out for him, The Articulate Reptile does the full bone mounting, and he's an artist. He's amazing. Frank M., I don't work on humans, but if you are in a medical institution and you worked on humans, there's laws. Yeah, they're pretty much all ribs. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jiggly, for the shout out. Yeah, the articulate reptile is great. I have learned a lot from him, actually. He walked me through how to skin the snake that I worked on, and he's a former field biologist, so he's very, very knowledgeable and can answer some pretty crunchy questions. Snakes are like a mouse, just stretched out with no head or feet. Oh no, they have a head. They have a very distinct head, like a super, super cool. Hey, Pseudo. Okay, great. Wow, you're off earlier than 9. Okay. No, their snakeheads are crazy, especially because they have more teeth than you think they should. Because like, if you think about our teeth, we have, you know, the row of teeth on the top that's kind of hook shaped, and then the row of teeth on the bottom that's kind of, you know, so it's two arches basically that line up like this. Yes, you know, because I didn't do the full skinning, now it just looks like cooking. We decided to try this, so hopefully no one will flag me for gore. But yeah, their heads have the front row of teeth like you would imagine, the bottom row of teeth like you would imagine, and then an inner set of teeth. So there's teeth along their palate, there's kind of teeth along the bottom. So they have teeth inside of teeth. Snakes are so cool. I love snakes. I really like, I've known and loved a number of live snakes, but their insides are cool too. I actually did a tribute to my favorite snake, Bianca, because she passed away this spring, and she was a really, really sassy, cool snake, and so you know those little, like, articulated wooden snakes that you can buy at gift shops and stuff? I did one of those, and I painted it, like, her coloration. She was a good snake. Hinge jaws are super cool on the skeleton, yes. During this last hour, what I've watched your stream, I've learned an insane amount of new things. I love how passionate you are about your work, and you are very interesting. Came because of the title, stayed because of the content. Aww, thanks. Yeah, I was really surprised to get flagged for gore, because, I mean, it is the insides of critters, like, no question, but it's all important. I don't know. No. Yep, no, I try, man. I try. And on my Tuesday stream is where I just drink tea and we just chat, and that's an opportunity to look up stuff that I don't know, because I don't know many things. There are so many things I do not know. And so a lot of times people will post the questions that I don't have the answers to on the Discord, and we can look those up together on Tuesday, and I try to research better answers. And the big one with that is there's so much misinformation out there that it's good to kind of remember how to research things online in a way that you're going to get more reputable answers. I'm not going to say something ridiculous like right answers, because that's a slippery slope. But yeah, it's a lot of food talk. Jiggly is absolutely right. I talk about food a lot. But being able to research things online and not end up in the dark corners of the internet, or just going with the first answer you might find on the search, can make a big old difference on what you learn. And we had a great one. There's a lovely streamer called Moose Does Stuff who does house renovation. So if you're into watching a guy with a GoPro camera pour concrete and build stairs and things, he's great. It's really lovely to watch. And we were talking about the fact that you should not feed geese bread. Geese and ducks, you should not feed them bread. It's really, really bad for them. But everybody that I know has fed bread to geese and ducks at some point. You, like, literally save scraps and go in to have special trips where you throw it for the ducks and they all go crazy. It's terrible for them. The overabundance of carbohydrates is really bad for them. And Moose was like, okay, I've heard this before, but no one could explain to me why it's bad. And I was like, oh, let's look that up. It was really hard to find the mechanics and the chemistry about why that was bad. And so I was so glad he pushed back against that, because, like, I had heard from reputable scientists and things not to do that, but the nuts and bolts of why you shouldn't, I had to go look that up, and it took a minute. So yeah, you know, we've done some interesting deep dives on the Tuesday stream, and we talk about food. When it comes to actually learning stuff on the internet, I would recommend anyone use Google search operators. It will change the way you scout through the surface web. What is a Google search operator? Tell me more. Yes. Yeah, it's angel wing syndrome is what we were talking about specifically. So basically the overabundance of carbohydrates specifically is usually when they have an under too many carbohydrates and not enough other nutrients when they're growing their bones, and so their wrists turn outward, and so they angel wing syndrome is where they look like they're going like this all the time, and because their wrists are twisted they can't fly. um, It's because Ronald Reagan killed all the birds in 1986. Oh, is that why? Good to know. But the best information, the two best sources of information I found about angel wing syndrome were from farming ducks. So it was actually the animal husbandry of how you raise your own domesticated ducks and the things to watch out for. And so they had good information about angel wing syndrome. And a random tiny, tiny little town in England had the best, most concise information about it that I'd ever seen. It was just like a nice bolded list. And they also went into how, like, it can foul the water, and the empty calories that they get from eating the bread will cause them to poop more, which means there's more poop in the water, which causes the bacteria amounts in the water to go up. Like, good information. So, I actually literally wrote a thank you note to that. You know, there's like a contact us form on that website. I was like, hey guys, thanks for having this. I never heard back, and I don't need to, but I was impressed with how great that town did. Man, I can't believe it's almost 9. Ugh. So I'm actually planning on not streaming for super late tonight. I was hoping to wrap up sometime between 9 and 9:30, because I am driving out of state tomorrow, and I've got some packing to do. But I'll be able to get these into hydrogen peroxide before I call it. And for anybody who has not seen the reaction when you pour hydrogen peroxide on fresh tissue, fresh, this is not super fresh, it's great, and you'll want to see that. It's super neat. I say in my totally unbiased opinion. Obviously. And I also get people who DM me sometimes with legal questions. You know, I have this thing in my freezer, what should I do? So if you have questions about that, feel free to ask. I am not an official legal advisor. I will usually point you to somebody who's better at it, but I'm happy to be the first step. Search operators are pretty much just cheat codes for Google, and anybody can use them. To strip it down, search operators basically give Google a lot more context on what you're looking for. Oh, I love everything about this, and I didn't know about this. Hello friend, do you use Discord, and have you joined my Discord? Because I would love more information about this posted to my Discord so I can play with it on Tuesday. Because you have all of my interest. Like, this is the content I am looking for. Come on, tongue. That's so cool. Because I'm pretty good at some of the, parentheses and things like that. Wow, that tongue is mummified. So that's just like totally disgusting mummified tongue. Yeah, but I'm always looking for better ways to find information, because we're living in an age where people's ability to learn things on the internet can make or break a lot, and not everybody's good at it. And crucially, your friends aren't necessarily good at it. So if your friend tells you something that they found, but they can't cite their sources, go double check it. Your friend means well. You love your friend. They're great people. But, or they heard something. It doesn't take ill intention to be wrong. It just takes being wrong. Something I harp on a lot. I know Chardon Mom kind of laughs about it. Beautiful. Demarcus the Fallen thanks that. Yeah. Thick, thank you very much. One of those old chestnuts that I absolutely freaking hate is the thing of Don't touch a baby bird. If a baby bird falls out of its nest, don't touch it, because then the mom bird will smell the human on it and will abandon it. Not true. You can pick that baby bird up, put it in your mouth and gargle with it, take it back out and put it in its nest, and mom won't care. Mom cannot smell basically anything any more than you really can. And other than, don't do that, by the way. But yeah, no, they can't smell you. Just pick the baby bird up and put it in its nest. Dude. If its nest fell out of the tree and got ruined, you literally can buy like a hanging planter, like you put flowers in, put the nest inside of that and hang it back in the tree, and mom will be like, oh, my nest looks different, dupe, and get into it. Yeah, don't gargle baby birds. So yeah, maybe not all of my advice is good. Grain of salt, people. But yeah, like things like that I hate, where some well-meaning parent got tired of telling their kids to stop touching things and told them some awful thing about, no, if you touch that baby bird, it will die. And like, I get it. I get why somebody would tell that lie, but if it was never corrected, then you have all these people who could be helping a little tiny animal and instead are like, oh, well, I'll kill it if I touch it. Shoot, just put the baby bird back in the nest. You know, or like if you find a baby rabbit, you know, don't bother them, but if something happens, you have to move the baby rabbit. Like if you're gonna mow the lawn or something like that, you can just pick up the baby rabbit. Mom is not that bright. She really doesn't care. She's just like, oh look, baby rabbits, I will feed them. Like, they're just not that analytical. If only cats could read. Yeah. I see an imaginary park in my head with signs that say, please do not chew on the baby birds. Yep. So yeah, maybe not all of my advice is perfect. So hey, everybody, make your own decisions based on good planning. But also, if you see a downed nest, please save the birds. Do not, however, try to give them food. That's the one that people biff. Where they'll, like, bring the nest in and they'll try to use an eyedropper to give baby birds, like, water. And they end up killing the birds because the very first hole that you see when a bird opens its mouth is actually its glottis, which leads to its lungs. The throat is actually way in the back. And so you have to go over the glottis hole and put the eyedropper into their esophagus to give them water. Otherwise, you fill their lungs with water. And at so many rescue groups, people will try to take care of the baby birds on their own, and when it's obviously not working, then they call the rescue group, and the rescue group has a nest full of baby birds with pneumonia because people filled their lungs with water. So that one is, if the animal needs to be taken care of, please call a professional. If mom animal can take care of it, just give it back to mom animal. Whoever mom animal happens to be. So there's your soapbox speech about that. You're welcome. And oh my god, leave baby deer alone. Anyway, I'm gonna stop. I've done a fair bit of wildlife rehab and rescue, so I have opinions on all of that. I actually got into taxidermy because of working with a rescue group, because they wanted the educational specimens. You know, so for like table programs and outreach and stuff like that. And then I discovered I really like it, and it's really neat. Alright. Okay, I got that lower jaw off. Thank goodness. Okay, home stretch. Actually, speaking of which, I'm gonna take a second. Oh man, yeah, I needed that. Were you self-taught in taxidermy? No. I learned at the Field Museum. So when the rescue group that I was volunteering with wanted to know if I could learn how to do taxidermy, I basically had just taken the raptor handling course, which, you can kind of see the orange, gauntlet back there. That's my raptor handling gauntlet. I had just taken the bird of prey, for those, who aren't sure. I took the bird of prey handling class that they offered so that I could do live animal rescue work, and they're like, hey, you know, you were a great student, we loved working with you, but your car is crappy, and we don't think that you could go out and do a lot of rescuing right now. but we know that you volunteer at the Field Museum doing fossils. Would you be willing to learn taxidermy? And I'm like, that was a weird set of questions, but okay. And so I basically went to my lab manager in the fossil lab, and I was like, I was asked about this. Who would I talk to about birds? And she walks me upstairs and introduces me to the people in the bird range. And what I started doing is I brought in birds who had come to the rescue group but then passed away from their injuries. And so I brought my own dead birds in. I had all my federal paperwork in one hand and a brown bag with a dead bird in it in the other, and I'm walking in the Field Museum. And went up to the third floor, and the Field Museum team trained me on how to preserve them. And so I did it as a partnership with this rescue group. Someone's shooting off fireworks outside. And man, it's so funny to look back at some of my first specimens. They're terrible. But I hope they're still being put to good use by that rescue group, but I feel a little bad. But you have to learn. And then when I finished that project, I was like, hey, Field Museum, can I stay? And yeah. So thank you, Dave Willard, Ben Marks, all you great people. So I did taxidermy with them for a while. And then at that time, I was a volunteer at the Chicago Academy of Sciences, and one of the curators at the time, I was doing live animal care, so I was taking care of like the turtles and snakes and birds and stuff that lived at the museum. And one of the curators found out that I knew how to do taxidermy, and not only did I know how to do taxidermy, I knew how to do very small birds. And he basically just made me go join his team. He's like, "You can do birds? Get into my lab." I'm like, ah. So I started doing taxidermy at 2 museums at the same time for a while. And then I became the volunteer coordinator at the Nature Museum right when that curator was leaving. He went and got a directorship in Ohio. And nobody was left to take over the specimen prep. And so I just did. And so I actually ended up running the specimen lab for 4 years. A little bit unexpectedly. But I had a good time doing it. So, yeah, so that's a bit of a winding answer to that question, but yeah. And some of it was self-taught, so, like nuancy stuff was just a lot of trial and error, but the initial how-to was 95% Field Museum and 5% Steve from the Nature Museum. And then, yeah, reading stuff, looking up things online, meeting other people who had come to volunteer who had learned other places. So getting to see kind of different techniques that other institutions had done. Some of which are wrong and I hated. But it was still, I was like, okay, I see what you're doing there. Don't ever do this in my lab again. That's a terrible thing. But for the most part, I was not that much of a jerk. But I actually did say that at least 2 occasions. I was like, never do that technique again. We're going to do it this way, because this way is right, and that one is wrong. That's one of the reasons that my knowledge base is so specific, is because the projects I was working on are what the museum wanted to have done. And so, like, I never did a snake when I was at the museum. I didn't have time in the lab that I was running, and at the Field Museum, they're so big that you only work on one category of things, and so I was just a bird prep volunteer. So I didn't have a chance to really experiment when I was running a lab because there was work to do. It wasn't about, what I wanted to do for funsies. It was what the institution most needed. We did fun stuff too, but, it narrowed the field. And that field was basically get it out of the freezer. It's already in the freezer, get it out of the freezer. Oh, this palette is so mummified. This skull is going to change so much once I soak it, just because all this mummified stuff's going to let go. That's going to be nice. That's the other weird thing about my lab. I basically trained a crack elite team of specimen prep volunteers, all of whom I'm very proud of, who could work on horribly freezer burn specimens. And this is a weird niche or niche, your preference, area, because a lot of institutions will just throw away the freezer burn ones, but if all of your stuff is freezer burn, you don't throw it all away. And so we got really good at working with dried tissue like I'm fighting with right now, because you leave something in the freezer too long, it gets freezer burn. That's just, especially if it's packaged really badly, which, oh my god, a lot of them were. Hey, Marinika, how's it going? So, yeah, my volunteers have very specific skill sets. And our lab was open to the museum floor, and so the whole time we're doing projects like this, we're talking, which is why I can do this on Twitch. I was used to always doing prep while chatting with people. You know, school groups would come by, visitors in the afternoon, you have people on dates, you know, coming by and chatting with us. You have regulars, you know, museum members and things like that. Hey, things are alright. I'm actually not going to be on too much longer, so I'm glad you caught me before I completely finished. But yeah, I'm actually most used to doing taxidermy while talking, which is not normal. Most people, you know, they're the quiet artists. They're very focused. So, yeah, it was good times. And it was just neat to be able to just, you know, because people have commented tonight how cool it is to be able to see this stuff and ask questions, and it's all very interesting. So thank you for all those compliments, Obs. But we were doing that at the museum, so people would walk by and be like, "Oh, it's the real deal," and we're like, "Yes, it is. Come chat with us." So, oh, it's the first time you actually got to see the taxidermy. Yeah, and today I'm just cleaning skulls. Originally I was going to get a skin of this mouse, and it had already started to decompose. So now we're just cleaning stuff. And so I was actually doing the dual stream where I was on Instagram to show like the really gnarly stuff, and now I don't think this is that bad, so. I mean, and again, for anybody who's kind of newer to the channel, I'm interested in feedback. Is this gory? What do you think? Because I did get a 7-day suspension because somebody flagged me for gore, and I don't agree with that. I don't think this is actually that bad, but my opinion apparently doesn't matter, so I'm always interested in more feedback. And, like, I do have the camera back, so it's just kind of bland. You know, you're not getting too many details. But always looking for the feedback. Carrying on this conversation while carrying bells. Yeah, no, that's my whole gig, man. I'm glad you like it. It's like you said at the beginning, it's not gross. Yeah, I don't think so, but yeah, I don't know. Is it the only way to clean them? Yes. So Marinica, this is the only way that I can clean them because I do not have the flesh-eating beetles, but not enough gore. So the actually far better, more efficient, more thorough way to clean the bones is with insects. I am a giant thuggish human with my giant thuggish human hands and nasty metal tools. Oh hey, thanks for saving that. And so yeah, there's far better ways to do it than what I'm doing, but this is what I'm able to do in my apartment. Yeah, I love that link. So for anybody who's interested in cleaning bones at home, that link is a good starting point that gives you kind of pros and cons. Because a lot of people are like, oh, you just boil them. No, don't boil them. Or, you know, oh, you put acid all over them. No, don't put them on. Like, no, don't do that. There are far better ways. Because your goal is to not destroy the bone. And acid and boiling and things will fricking destroy the bone. Which is why you boil things to make stock. That's how that works, man. I want to renew my sub, but it won't let me from my phone. Actually, somebody else earlier was having a hard time with their sub. So, Maria Agnetica, thank you very much. I don't know what Twitch is up to, but I sure appreciate your desire. So I hope it works at some point, but you've still made me happy, so thank you very much for that. Moths per hour. You can also bury bones if you have a backyard and woods, but that's more for large animals. Yeah, so it'd be harder with something like this. You might still lose the little pieces, but yeah, if you have the yard, burying them is a great way to do it. Because again, you're letting the natural processes do it, so the local flora that's in the soil will take care of breaking stuff down for you. It's way better than, again, giant, clumsy human hands. Maria, I appreciate it. So, all the good vibes, don't worry about it. Yeah, obviously, people, please, give me money. Sub, cheer, all that great stuff. But I'm also really glad to have people chatting with me and hanging out. So, y'all make my night. I appreciate you all. Okay. Alright, I think I got this guy pretty clean. So much brains. Okay. Oh, I can probably get a little more off this jaw. Okay, I'm gonna clean this jaw, and then we're gonna hit this in hydrogen peroxide and go find someone to raid. Yeah. Or I'll throw it on the ground. Yeah. I swear, we get past Memorial Day, and now it's gonna be fireworks until September. Chicago's kind of known for illegal fireworks. Some of them are really nice, though, so I can sit on my balcony and watch the fireworks, and it's actually kind of nice. So, you bet someone asked, but does it smell? It does get asked. Totally fair. And yes, it does. Especially mammals. Like, rats smell like rats. Mice smell like mice. So if you've ever been someplace that had, like, in the cupboard or something, there's been rats or mice, it smells like that. But the inside smells like meat. I don't work with rotten things, and so it's not rotten. I don't have that really terrible, like, you want to vomit smell. It's raw meat that smells like mouse. When I work on birds, they have almost no smell. So, like, a songbird has basically no smell. Which is why this is something that we could do on the floor of the museum. And so visitors would come and chat while we were at the desk doing the prep, and we weren't driving them away. How horrible it was. Most of the time. Things came up. There were a few mistakes. But for the most part, we were not driving people away with stench. We did have one really notable occurrence where there was a cloud of miasma, where basically we had been soaking a skull in hydrogen peroxide and left it too long, so it had started to decompose in there. And so it was dumped out into the sink, and you get the poof of smell from dumping basically rotten meat juice down the sink. Of course, that smells bad. And it was early in the morning. The museum was open, but it hadn't been open for too long, and we're like, it'll probably be fine. And, people went back to work and the smell dissipated. No one worried about it. And then someone from the museum walked around the corner to find one of us and went, "Oh my God, what's that smell?" And we're all like, "You can smell it? I thought it was gone." And we're trying to figure it out. And basically the cloud had simply moved. And so when I walked outside of the lab, I found the cloud of smell. It was like moving down the hallway as a unit of smell. It was real bad. So we got books and we're trying to disperse it. It was really bad. So I don't think any visitors noticed it. I hope not. But that was a moment. Sometimes you get unlucky. But for the most part, we didn't work on things that were really stinky. At least that was the goal. Yeah, so like if you have the beetles, because they're eating really, really old tissue, and that does smell bad. The flesh-eating beetle tanks smell terrible. But for fresh taxidermy, nah, it just smells like meat. Rumi just doesn't care. I don't know if you could see him when he jumped down, but he just sleeps over behind my monitor, and does not think what I'm doing is interesting at all. Basically, my cat is just over all of it. He's like, whatever. You're doing that weird thing you do, I'm leaving. Thanks, buddy. It's so dry. Ugh. You know what? I'm not going to fight this. I'm going to be better off if I soak it and then try to fight these off later, because I don't want to break the corner of the jaw. Okay. Alright. So there's my clean bones. More or less. Get this off. Okay. So this one, I'm gonna take this guy out. So this skull has been soaking and is wow, you can't even see it. Oop. Okay. So yeah, Jiggly, I'm planning on bedazzling those. No, the cats don't care about the meat at all. I think because they're spoiled. They like fish. So this one has been soaking in the hydrogen peroxide for a couple of days, and I actually did a second round of cleaning it and got all the extra tissue off of it. So this is basically done. So I've just taken that out of my solution. These are all going to go back in, so you can see kind of the before and after here. Actually, where's my phone? Ah, no, it's out of the way. So I'm going to go dump this water, this old solution real quick, and then we'll do the transformation with these, and then I'm going to wrap up the stream. So, 1 second while I dump this out. Oh man. I need to pick up some more hydrogen peroxide. Okay. So, this is hydrogen peroxide. Boom. The camera can figure that out. So this is the stuff that you would just find in the first aid section of a drugstore. And then on the back, up here, let's see. There it is. Active ingredient, hydrogen peroxide stabilized 3%. So this is only 3% hydrogen peroxide. It's not 100% hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. Water is H2O. So the difference is one oxygen molecule. Or atom. And so basically what this does is the hydrogen peroxide, you have the H2O2, it grabs onto the oxygen. Figure this out. Come on, buddy. Yeah, let's focus. Ah, come on. There we go. When the H2O2 hits the blood and the organic material, it starts ripping oxygen atoms off of the organic tissue. And so the fizzing that you see is the oxygen molecules becoming O2, which is atmospheric oxygen, and bubbling away. And what it leaves behind is H2O, so it leaves behind water. So you start with something that's actually kind of a horrifying chemical, if you think about it, and it bubbles fresh air and leaves behind clean water. Well, not clean, because I'm putting a rat head in it. So it's a crazy, crazy, crazy reaction, and I love it. Yeah, use it to stop minor bleeding wounds. Like if you fall off your bike and skin your knee and you have that nasty road rash, hydrogen peroxide is great. And the reason for that is it kills all of your cells, actually, on the part of you that hit the road, but it also kills any bacteria that might have gotten into the wound. And it helps make sure that your knee doesn't get infected. So it's good stuff. You can gargle with it. So if you've ever had oral surgery, sometimes you have to swish with this so that it can clean the bacteria out of the wound, which is why it's only 3%. Yes, it's wonderful for cleaning blood. Same thing, it's ripping apart the organic materials. So if you have to clean blood out of cloth, hydrogen peroxide, the jam. So here's what we're gonna do. Over there. You can see it there pretty well. I don't think that bottom jaw is gonna work for the mouse, but okay. So you have my my very pink mouse heads, very meaty. Take my stuff. You guys ready? So this stuff is hydrogen peroxide. There it is. Hydrogen peroxide. I got this at the pharmacy down the street. And again, you can put it on an open wound, and it actually helps clean up your injuries. I read somewhere that heating a hyperthermal slightly bones inside improves the whitening. I haven't heard that. I do know that keeping it out of sunlight can improve the whitening because it prolongs the chemical reaction. I have not heard about heat, so I'll have to look that up. Alright, so if you put that in your ear, it'll fizz like crazy. Again, it's 3%, so as long as you don't leave it in your ear for too long, it should be fine, but it's actually a great way to break up earwax, because, again, it's ripping apart that organic stuff, so it starts to break apart your earwax, and just don't leave it for a long time. I would leave it for, a couple minutes to break things up, and then maybe flush it, so you use clean water to then flush it out afterward. But anything, though, let me take a huge moment here, people. Talk to your doctors. Anna Marie is not a doctor. I do not have a medical degree, and I should not be giving anybody advice on human medicine. So, yeah, it's a topical solution. So putting it in your ear is a little bit more internal, but you can. But you should consult a doctor before putting anything in or on your body for medical purposes. There you go. Yes, it can also bleach your hand. Hey, Syndrome, how's it going? Yeah, so, and again, because it's ripping things apart, right? So, such as, here we go. So, if anybody hasn't been really closely watching, this is worth watching. This reaction is really rad. So, now we're doing it. Okay, so. Oh yeah, already that one's starting to go. So the front of that one was already white, so that's not fair. But already the pink is dissipating, and these are a lot whiter than they were before. You can see that good fizz. And the ones that have more tissue are fizzing more. This one's a little drier, so it's not fizzing as much. Ah, look at that fizz go. Some more. This container's also been open for a while, so I can tell that the reaction's not quite as good as when it's really fresh. I have to get the air bubbles out of their brain area. Yes, the skulls totally float. Part of the reason they're floating, though, is, again, the chemical reaction is causing bubbling in air, and so it actually inflates the insides of the heads and they float more. So one of the things I have to do as they're soaking over the next day or so is agitate them to try and get the coverage so there's not like a air pocket, because then it'll leave a dirty spot. So I try to get it like inside the brain area. That's pretty okay. Yeah. So, yeah, so these are going to soak for a day, 2, 3. I don't want to do it for too long. It can eventually cause the bones to just fall apart, because it is actually a fairly strong chemical. But this one, honestly, I forgot about, and it soaked for like a week. So, and it's fine. So, nah. By the way, for anyone who plans special revenge on a tick, inject hydrogen peroxide. Do that after it's no longer in your body. But that is it. Wow, that's a horrific way to die. So yeah, if you're looking for sweet, sweet revenge against blood-sucking critters, that's a really explosive way to go. I can't help it. I gotta poke at this a little bit. Can you reuse the hydrogen peroxide? No. The chemical reaction, because it's only 3%, it pretty much uses up all of the useful chemical in the first go. So, no. And actually, because obviously it's in contact with air, and air contains the oxygen and things like that, it usually, even if you just leave the container open, it will lose its potency. Or again, if you leave it in sunlight, it'll lose its potency. So, there's other chemicals that I can use more than once, but not this particular one. Good question, though. Is there anything else I can get off of this? power's on. Yeah, like actually when I pickled my snake hide, that stuff I've been reusing because the glycerin is pretty stable. Although now I think about it, the isopropyl alcohol is probably because it's volatile. I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent. Anyway, yeah, some things you can reuse, but the hydrogen peroxide you cannot. And so the hydrogen peroxide, like specifically this stuff is meant to be used on injuries. You skin your knee, you need to gargle with it. It's good for actually helping you heal. But you have to be careful because it can burn you, and I actually have given myself a chemical burn with hydrogen peroxide, and it takes effort, but I'm a dingling. Basically, I had been cleaning something with hydrogen peroxide, actually when I was a volunteer at the desk, and I wasn't paying attention, so there was clear liquid on the work surface, and I wasn't paying attention. I was just like, oh, it's water, whatever. And so I sat down and I set my arms in it, and then I sat there for like an hour, like I am here, working on something. And then when the hour was over, I lifted my arms up, and all the skin on the bottom of my arm was dead. And I was working after hours at the museum, so I was alone, and I had to text the guy who was the lab manager at the time and be like, do I need to go to the hospital? And he's like, nah, you're fine. And the top layer of my skin fell off, and then I was fine. So, again, I don't give medical advice. Talk to a doctor. I might be kind of a dupe sometimes. Okay, get that off. Alright. So I just had one of the zygomatic arches come loose, which I knew that one was broken, so that's now off. Okay. My mother cleaned wounds at hydrogen. Yeah, I hated it because it's cold. When you put it on an injury, you go because it's really cold and it feels really strange, but it's very good. Again, I bought this at a pharmacy to clean injuries. Or that's the section it was in. I am using it for this, but I actually keep a different bottle of hydrogen peroxide in my bathroom if I do get injured. So I don't really want to have my work chemicals used for first aid. I try to keep those separate, but yeah, it's good for that. What happens when the skull stays in too long? Actually, that is what happened to this. So you see this little sliver of bone here that came off of the zygomatic arch. Basically, the bone becomes so sodden and soft that you know how, like, if you can imagine a human skull, there's those like little squiggly lines all through it that are the actual sutures that hold everything together. Those can eventually come apart. So you end up gluing the whole bones back together, and it's a pain in the butt. Thankfully, hydrogen peroxide is so cheap, you can buy 25 bottles for my deer skulls. Nice! Yeah. Sounds like a good way to get rid of that tattoo at home. Good way. Again, I don't give human medical advice. I'm just gonna walk away from that one, so good luck, Syndrome. I'll tell you what you can do with dead animals. I'm not gonna give any advice on what you do with your own dang skin. Oh, you sandpaper! That, I mean, not wrong. That will eventually get rid of a tattoo. Oh my god. You people are full of terrible ideas. Do not follow my stream for medical advice or tattoo removal. Alright, who is around? I'm going to dump you all off on someone else and get wrapped up a little bit early. Oh, Dr. WD-40's on. Okay, he's doing a nature photo share. Oh, shoot. Let's go talk to him. Alright, so, Dr. WD-40 is a professor of genetics, if I recall. Genetics, microbiology, and immunology. He also spends a lot of time walking around on the beaches of Florida with a live cam, just showing you, he has a metal detector he does birding, he's a really cool guy. So we're gonna go raid him. And then I'm gonna go and pack to travel tomorrow. So let's see if the raid channel function will work. Because yesterday or Thursday it was not working. Oh yeah, it's actually working. Okay, cool. Oh, weird. On my screen, my stream has totally stopped moving. Anyway, maybe it's because I'm wrapping up. I've had some weird technical issues today. No, thank you, everybody. Moose, this, yeah, as we talked about, I'm doing hot tub streams now, and there is my very small hot tub. Moose, you're here just in time to go raid another science streamer. No, it's not a hot tub for Smurfs, it's a hot tub for rats, as you can see from this skull right here. Oh, hello, friend. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad for all the new people who stopped by. I'm glad for all the old people who stopped by. Y'all are great. Yes, rat tub. So, go say hi to Dr. W40. He's great. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. And then I'll be back on Tuesday for my Just Chatting and Tea. And so if you have friends who might have questions about this but don't really necessarily want to see the critters, Tuesdays and Thursdays are a good day to talk to me. Wednesdays and Thursdays I do that extra stuff, though. So I will... Moose, you know better. I will see everybody later. So take care, be nice to each other, stay healthy, and I will see everybody next time.
Yeah, Pacific Plankton, we had so many shares tonight. That was the Blue Mountains. The substitute streamer raided me with party night. What's up, substitute streamer? How are you all doing? 3 mares? What's up? Did you come in with a raid? Jeez, 18 raiders from Gorgana. Who just got a double raid? Well, first I gotta go follow substitute streamer. How have you been, 3 mares?